Okay, I'm up. All right. This video is the so every now and then I make a video where I say help me make a video, right? And I ask a question. I'm trying to keep those videos short, like around 2 minutes or so. The question I asked in a recent video was, how do you make a tabletop role-playing game scary, right? Because I was thinking about it. Okay, Halloween's coming up, and maybe I want to lean into, like, I don't know, some guy in a mask is chasing my players around and trying to kill him or something, or whatever, like some sort of Hollywood trope about fear. Because I guess that's probably the limitation of my conceptualization for how fear can be exhibited, like jump scares or something. But how do you play out a jump scare in a tabletop role-playing game, right? So that was like the issue I was having. I couldn't conceptualize, all right, exactly how do you make a tabletop role-playing game scary for players? Like, I mean, I know I could turn the lights down and maybe I could play like some sort of grinding, gear turning Silent Hill music or something. But that feels a little like obtuse, at least to me. And so I think I even highlighted like, hey, don't, oh, hang on. Hey, how's it going, Dinko? Hang on, hey, welcome to the stream. Dinko says hi. Hello, Dinko. Anyway, so since I kind of already understood you could turn the lights down, I wasn't really looking for necessarily ambient ideas, but I did get some of those, right? So there's probably about 30 comments here that I'm going to go through. If my computer screen turns back on, hang on. I'm going to go through and I'm going to read them. I thought about making these type of videos just videos, like where I'd record them. And I actually started to make that video like a week ago. And so I came in and I started reading, but I made a mistake while I was reading. And so I hit the stop recording button. And like right away I knew, like, okay, if I try and make these a video, I'm going to try and edit it, and then I'm going into it with like the desire to keep it like 30 minutes and under or something. So I think what I've decided sort of organically was that I'm going to make these help me make a videos. And I'm going to just read them and accept the fact that I make errors when I read stuff because I'm dumb. Hey, how's it going, Chevron Red? Thank you so much, and I appreciate you allowing me to link the file there, because man, you made something that really solved a problem at my table. So much so that I'm actually looking forward. Like, that's the thing is, like, I'm now that I know how to solve the issue. Chevron Red provided me with a document called a campaign primer, and it really solves the issues that I was having in my campaign. Like, I had maybe 6 or 7 problems, 9 I think total, but 6 or 7 problems where I was like, I don't know how to fix these issues, right? And anyways, Chevron Red made a document that solved it, and I posted that document in a different video. So thank you. All right, so this video is about how to make your tabletop role-playing games scary or something, right? Like how to add fear as a dynamic in the game. And since I really had no answer to that question, and I still kind of don't, because I actually haven't read these comments, so I'm going to be learning as we go. Like I read like maybe 1 or 2, but then I realized that every time I hit reply and I replied, it added another comment, and I forgot I'd already learned that. So it tricks me into thinking I have like double the comments on a video. And so I kind of want to wait until there was about like 20 or 30. And so now there's about 30 or so. So he was just, okay, so Salty Nick says he was just looking at the primer video today. Looks good. I thought so too. It was like, I got about halfway down the middle of the paragraph and I was like, this is exactly what my campaign is missing. You know what I mean? I think I even mentioned in the video, like I went into it reading like, yeah, this is not going to solve my problem. And then I was like, oh, this solves my problem. That's how dumb I am. Let's see. Salty Nick says, my problem with his problem with his last in real life group was that they weren't interested in doing any homework. Okay, so just wanted to jump right into play. Okay, so they just wanted to play. They didn't want to do any of the homework stuff. So it took them a while to get into character. And I think that's the assumption that I made too about my group, is like, they're not going to want to do any of this homework stuff, right? Like they're not going to want to, like people have been suggesting like, hey, have your players tell you what they want to play in the game, like what kind of characters they want to play. And I don't do that, right? I just go like, let's go. Like we're playing a board game or something, right? And I'm just handing them a character or something. And I think the fact that I haven't taken that extra step with my players and gone like, hey, what do you want to do in the game? I think that's what's been missing. So I will, throughout this video, get distracted by comments. I don't know how to not do that. It's just going to happen. But I am going to try and stick to this and try and keep my discussion about this. So, but if things are talking about other stuff, I'm going to be talking about other stuff. So let's jump right in. TSL Frontman, in answering the question how to make TTRPG games scary, suggests this. Fear across all game media has 3 things in common. Oh, let me switch my screen over so you can actually read along with me and see where I make mistakes. Fear across all game media has 3 things in common. Uncertainty. This would be the first one. The players are never sure if what's going. The players are never sure if what's going on, why. Of what's going on or why, until it's probably too late. Think aliens. Okay, so that's a good suggestion. That's like create a situation where they're going into it and maybe they actually don't know they're in over their heads. Okay, that's actually a pretty good suggestion. Think aliens or paranormal activity. Right, so players are participating in some sort of thing they think is like a simple mission, but then they discover hang on a second, it's even more than that. Helplessness of the players. They start off with no idea how to win and may never find a real path to victory. Poltergeist, Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, think some of the slasher flicks. So basically, like they're just gonna lose. And that's an interesting idea, because me as a DM, I go, is that wrong? Like, is that too punishing? And keep in mind, I'm kind of a DM that tends to baby my players. Like, I actually don't know how to create that scenario where they go into it and it's like, you guys are just doomed. Like that, partly because I think we've discussed it. Like my son, I pointed over here because he normally sits here. My son is like that war game player. So if I present him with an unwinnable situation, he might get upset. How's it going, Nick? I saw your message on Discord. I'm so sorry. I got caught up like all day yesterday just talking about stuff with a couple different people, and then I'd already scheduled something for the evening. I was going to call you, or I was going to message you in the evening, but I already scheduled something in the evening with my son and another guy. We started making Savage World characters. It was pretty cool. We got to the point where we're ready to start a campaign in Savage Worlds. But anyways, I haven't forgotten about you, and I'm sorry that we haven't had a chance to talk. I do want to talk with you, and it was like, I want to understand the thing you're trying to tell me, because I think the thing you're trying to tell me I'm misunderstanding in a few of your comments, and I don't want to be misunderstanding. But like the idea that you were conveying, I was like, okay, this is whatever it is you're conveying, you think I should already understand, and I don't, and so I'm missing some piece of information in between, if that makes sense. But I think we have to have a conversation where you lay out your point, and then I kind of push back on it, and then you explain, So, all right. Nick's are the best. Okay, Savage Worlds. There you go. How's it going, Phil? I got a comment from you down here below. I already started reading it a little bit, but I haven't gotten to it yet. All right, so we got uncertainty, helplessness. That's the one I have trouble with. Environment. The setting itself is strange and unnatural and reflects the first 2 feelings. Annihilation did this really well. Okay, so we got uncertainty, helplessness, and an environment to go with it. Those are great ideas. Call of Cthulhu does all of these fantastically. There are no superpowers, no perfect plan, and no idea what's after you until it's too late. Of surviving, understanding, or defeating the evilness, you're lucky if you accomplish 1 or 2, but you never do all 3. Interesting. So you might survive, you might understand. Oh, okay, I get it. So you probably never survive, understand, and defeat. So maybe you survive and understand, but you didn't defeat, or maybe you survive and defeat, but didn't understand. Okay, that's a really, that's really helpful, actually. That breaks down like a whole integral thing I'm missing when I'm approaching the idea of scary things. One, because I've never played Call of Cthulhu, and so like there's a whole branching, grasping aspect of TTRPGs that's just out of my wheelhouse of understanding, and I think that's something you have to like play it to experience it or something. If anyone's running a Call of Cthulhu campaign, I would definitely be interested in making a player in that and learning how it plays. Satori adds, especially since you risk both death and insanity at any time. Also interesting. And that's of course like a narrative role-playing thing, because your players, so that would be a campaign primer thing. Hey, you guys might need to play insane characters, right? Like, you're definitely going to have dead characters, but be prepared to try and play crazy. And I think that'd be something that'd be helpful to have in a primer for a scary game, which is interesting because now that we're highlighting, it's like totally, I don't think you can just drop your players into this like in the middle of their campaign. Like, just getting through TSL Frontman's explanation while also conceptualizing the primer, like the need for the primer, I'm now just first comment in, I'm like, oh, I don't think you can just make your D&D campaign a scary game and do it successfully. So, all right, so you're seeing how I learn when I'm going through the comments, right? Like, I go, oh, right, because I was just thinking I could just drag and drop my players into like, here you go, like, welcome to Aliens, like, but you can't do that based on just these first two comments. That's interesting. So, Nick says, sure thing, and it's the jargon that's causing all the yeah, you know what, you're right, there is a jargony type thing where I know I'm using the words like system and I'm using the word setting, but like I'm also still learning exactly what other people mean when they're saying system and mechanics, and I'm going, oh, okay, I get where the relationship between mechanics and system is, and I'm kind of placing setting into it. I'm coming at this from like a video game perspective where I'm seeing systems like engines, right? And settings like settings, I don't know, and like you can, anyway, so there is a communication issue thing, but all right, let me keep at it. That was Satori adding on to TSL Frontman, Gold Shan something or other, Gold Shanil, I don't know how to say that. All right, Gold Shan says, this, for me, uncertainty is the most important ingredient. As a GM, that is my go-to, as serving the character's senses and not acting as some kind of omniscient narrator. Hold on a second. Let me see. As a GM, that is my go-to. So uncertainty. As is serving the character's senses. Okay, so they're playing the narrator and telling the characters here's what you smell, here's what you see, but they're not telling them more information beyond that. So the players are going in going, oh, there's a body, oh, there's a whatever, and they're getting just what they sense and see. That's actually really good, and that's actually something that that Gary, I can't remember his last name, but Gary, who's been helping me learn the Savage World game with my son, he also describes a way of dungeon mastering and GMing where you basically just touch on the five senses, like you smell this, you hear this, you taste this, what are the other ones, see, did I forget? See, you touch this, whatever. Okay, so that's a really good suggestion, and right away I'm going, okay, I get the idea. You can't just drop scary into your setting. You might have to take like a month of doing scary games or something, okay? All right, God, that's such a hard question. The short answer is put in something you personally don't feel comfortable with. Describe things in a way that would scare that you would be scared of, not necessarily your players, okay? Some other tips are, start the session with something to make the players feel more attached than ever to their PCs. Use a lot of dynamic irony, like let your players feel or know something terrible is going to happen before their PC knows it. Interesting, okay? Be much more silent than usual. It encourages the players to freak out a bit. Put on music, obviously. And okay, so that's like a real world thing, like the music thing. That one I kind of already had a sense for. I knew music could do it before I read any of these. But for example, like this idea of attaching your players to their NPCs in like a stark way, and then using dramatic irony, like let the players know something's coming that their players, like the characters don't. Like that I can't actually conceptualize. So if any of you have any ideas of how that would manifest in the game, I can't conceptualize that thing that they're describing. I understand what they mean. Like, I describe something, but I haven't said your players see this, right? I'm trying to place that. The creating connection to the NPCs or to the player characters, I can understand that one. Like, I get it, right? Connect them in the world somehow. Use this campaign primer to allow them to pick characters and they know who they are in the world. A campaign primer is essentially this top row here, but I'm not sure the dramatic irony. Let me see if anyone has a suggestion to add to that one. Let's see. Okay, so we got some other things. Mothership for me gives a deeper amount. So John says Mothership gives me a deeper amount of help with building a scary game. Interesting. and death in space with the right atmosphere is satisfying. So, John, you made a really interesting point there. I looked at a person's system yesterday, and I can't really talk about it, but just in creating the character, I understood who I was in the world, and I thought that was really interesting. And I think it was because it was a system where the setting was baked in so well. But and that's something where when I'm creating a hold on, there's music going off. Hey Siri, pause music. I was so confused because I'm like, what am I hearing right now? I thought like a car was driving by. So the spy robots in my house every so often pick up on something I say. I'm not even going to say something that's like close to her name, but I'll say something close to her name, and then it's like she starts talking, and I'm like, oh, what? It's like, what was I saying? Something about scary games, Mothership. Oh, right. Systems. Anyways, I can't talk about that, but I have noticed that there are games that you will build your character, and in the process of building your character, there's a settings aspect. Like there's some grounding there. And again, it's that campaign primer thing that like I didn't really understand how important a campaign primer was until I saw a campaign primer and realized that all the issues I've had was I've been extending out board gaming a little too much in my DMing, you know, like expecting that my players are going to bring some of the stuff in, but it's like, but I need to, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I guess it's essentially expecting my characters to flesh out my world for me. And they can't because they don't really know what they're allowed to include. And so I've also been grazing over the session 0 a little bit too much. And I think I was talking with Nick at the beginning of this video about that. Oh yeah, because he mentioned a problem that he had in his last real game group where they didn't want to do the homework, right? So they didn't, like his last group he tried to do a session 0 with, and they were just like, we don't want to do the homework, right? And I think I had that assumption, like my players aren't going to want to do the homework. You know, like they're not going to want, like, okay, I'm not going to say, well, what do you want to play, right? Like they're not going to want to have that discussion. I'm just going to be like, here's the game we're playing or something. So now that I'm failing with Dungeons and Dragons, seems like I'm failing with Shadow Dark. And like, since I've made these pretty big mistakes, just jumping into games and not establishing things well, I'm at another reset point. Like that feels super defeated. But I also know, like, if we just continue on this way, I'm going to keep having players just, their characters, right? Just dead character, throw them off a cliff. Who cares, right? I need to do the re-session 0 thing. So I'm totally off track. Let me see. Did anyone have a suggestion that answers this question here about using dynamic irony? Oh, there we go. Okay. So Salty Nick talks about the dramatic irony. The dramatic irony bit. You could let your players know something is going down by having a countdown of some sort. That's a bonkers idea. That's great. Okay, it can be hard to tell your players something their PC won't know, especially if you play with the people who, play with people who metagame, John says. All right, and then Salty Nick says the players, see, so a timer that the players can see, but their characters know nothing about it. That's menacing. Salty Nick, that's a really good suggestion. Because like, okay, I can just imagine my son right now, right? Like I got like a little thing with like, I don't know, maybe like I'm putting pieces in, right? Like a little pie, and maybe it's got like 6 cutouts, and it's just there. And then like they do something, I go, okay, all right, yeah. I just put something in it, right? And I just put another thing, and they're gonna be like, my son's gonna be like, what is that? What are you doing? Like, I'm like, that's a really good idea. Okay, thank you for that. I know I'm missing comments, and okay. No, I gotta get to them. Okay, so we talked about Mothership, all right, and about systems. This is a good one. I agree with this. I agree with this a bit about sensory control. Good advice. Okay, I think I was talking about one of the comments up there we were reading. Absolutely. See, Vast Grim is a big one for less horror. Can we keep it in the top 3? All right. I know this is less practical. This is from Chevron. But reading is so vital for a GM, just like an author. So they're saying that they had to read sword and sorcery stories before they understood the understood the tone intuitively. That is such a good point. Okay, so Chevron is saying like, okay, you have to keep reading, and that's one of the things I realized. Like, okay, I'm struggling to run a fantasy game because I don't read that much fantasy. Like I read, I've read through some C.S. Lewis recently, right? Like I've read a lot of C.S. Lewis, and you know, a lot of the stuff I read is like, you know, Christian novels and stuff, like Mere Christianity and The Problem with Pain, and so when I'm dipping into some of these fantasy settings, I'm like, I don't have like a whole wheelhouse of solutions to story problems. And so, yeah, what Chevron is pointing out is like, yeah, you got to keep reading. And that's what I'm realizing. Like, I got to read stuff related to the thing I'm playing in to kind of give me resources or ideas. And since I don't do that, like I end up running dry sometimes, which is one of the reasons why I'm interested in running Wild Sea, because that's kind of more of my fantasy interest, like that kind of post-apocalyptic weird world where it's like magic with technology, with, you know, like with like airships and stuff. Like I like that kind of fantasy. Like that kind of fantasy is for me in general. Like I like Lord of the Rings. I'm interested in Lord of the Rings. I just don't know if I'm super interested in like running Lord of the Rings. I don't know if that makes sense, right? Like some of the stuff I like is weird fantasy, like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I really like the magical kingdom in the cupboard, that like the time displacement, like. Anyway, so great suggestion. And so back to scary games. For me to run a proper scary game, I'd have to read some scary stories, right? All right, let me continue on. Nick, thank you for the suggestion there. I'm never gonna move on with this video if I don't keep going. So I'm gonna have to. I hate ignoring the comments. All right, I'm just trying and stay focused because I know I have a few really big ones here and I want to try and get to all of them. Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention. So I do have a time limit on this video. I probably have to stop this around, okay, 2:30. Hang on. Got to go get my son. He's not, no. Okay, I have about an hour. I have about an hour to finish this up. Okay, so my grandma's in the hospital right now, and like I think she's gonna be okay. But she fell, she hurt her collarbone. My dad called me this morning, so we're gonna go pick up my son Bishop and go visit grandma. You know, go read to her and hang out with her. She's almost 90 now, so she's really old. She hasn't been able to talk for like the last couple years because she had a stroke. So my dad said something weird on the phone to me today. Said like, "Hey, we're hoping that she might be able to talk after this," which I didn't quite understand. He was in a hurry. So I got the idea that somehow she was injured, but it's possible she's coming out of like recovery better than she went in, which I'm super confused about, but I can't really get more information from him right now. And, you know, so anyways, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I wanted to do these two videos today. I wanted to make this one about the primer document and the scary stuff. So I'm going to have to ignore comments a little bit because I tend to just go off the rails. So let me go back to it. Okay. So, Creme, I have trouble with this one every time. Creme Sonicals. Okay, how do you make a game scary? I like that sometimes because when I'm making these videos, I forget the comments I'm reading. I'm like, oh yeah, right, scary game. All right, in a word, dread. Everyone has fears: the unknown, the dark, spiders, lots of stuff. And I usually hear about those within my game group from time to time when we're not playing. Sometimes during, and I usually fall back on them if I need to add tension or dread. Okay, all right, so fall back on those ideas about dread and spiders and scary stuff. Okay, got it. All right. As to how I do that, I draw upon a family interest in hunting, and a lot of advice that amounts to show the signs, not the thing. Okay, that's kind of a similar comment to the thing we saw earlier. Like, don't show the thing, like keep that thing a mystery. Okay, a person's mind is a far more active and useful tool than anything I can implement to imagine terrible and horrifying outcomes. So this is all really good suggestions because this is like allude to it. Don't say it, allude to it. Let them create the monster in their mind. Okay, if I can show the signs of a dangerous beast, hint at a place that is concealed in shadow and darkness, or keep letting people know that chittering sounds and webs are all about, then their minds will do the rest. And all I have to do is all I have to do at that point is manage the chaos. Herd the cats, really. This is really helpful. So I leave signs like a beast would on a hunt. Marks of their passing equal presence. Trophies and or places of power equals dread. For non-beasts and more metaphorical dangers, I present an opportunity for that fear to present itself. Just the opportunity. Okay, so I make moments where for the non-beast metaphorical dangers, I present opportunity for that fear to present itself. Just the opportunity. So present opportunities where they're going to interact with the place where the creature was. And by doing so, you may actually make an opportunity for them to wander into the creature. Okay, I get it. So like the players are still in control. You're not shoehorning them into a room with a scary monster. They're just tracking the thing, but they're aware of the thing that they're tracking or something. Or maybe they're coming to a colony that just got picked clean or something, and they're trying like that I just watched Aliens with my son the other night. He rather liked it. He fell asleep in Alien. I was like, he fell asleep in Alien. I was so disappointed. He fell asleep like 30 minutes into. I made the mistake of watching the director's cut of Alien, and it drags a little bit. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like there's some parts where I was like, I mean, I get it. Aliens. These are going to be fighting words, but I'm an Aliens fan over Alien. Like I think every day of the week. I love Aliens. Aliens, fine. It's good. I know I'm going to make a lot of people mad with that hot take. All right. Okay. So opportunity for the beast to present itself. Got that. Okay. Without getting into soft moves and hard moves like for Dungeon World. Oh, I get it. Okay. It's the promise and opportunity that starts the dread by giving the person's imagination something to chew on. Okay. You only need to follow through when you want to scare. Okay. That's a great set of suggestions. I really appreciate that. And spelling it out that way is helpful as well. Like, don't have it be that some failure leads them, boom, into the nest. Like, keep trickling them into it without like a hard or soft thing. So then I guess, yeah, by way of just allowing the players to have agency in your scary setting, they are probably going to stumble across the thing that's scary. Okay, foreshadowing is your best implement in those cases. And if one line or two in particular works for your group, write those words down and practice how you say them. Okay, those are your magic words in a way. 1, it's a clear sign. 2, it helps keep fear at a regulated amount. The person who hears those words, even if they are afraid, will know what to expect. Okay, same principle happens with spells. Like if I say fireball, you know what to anticipate. That doesn't mean you will enjoy it though. Okay, I see. And this is also helpful for me because at some point I'm like, okay, what do they mean exactly by when they say one line or two in particular, write those words down. I'm trying to figure out what that means, like how that manifests exactly in game terms. Those are my magic words, okay? But I do understand what they mean when they say like fireball. And so I am essentially saying something like fireball to the players, but it's keywords, okay? Most importantly, try not to overdo it. Less is more with dread and fear because they have a side benefit of tension within a game engagement, but also stress. And there's a fine line between a memorable moment and having players and having a player who needs to go home or take a 20-minute breath break. I see. Okay, so we're not trying to keep them engaged in tension or something, okay? Just like other emotions, anger, for example, I believe there's such thing as too worked up for the game table. Okay, and that's the thing. I'm like, I can't even conceptualize that. I've never seen that, and since I've never played that, I don't know how to imagine that. Like when someone says that, like there's a part of me that's like, there's a part of my brain that goes, are these really sissy players? You know what I mean? Like I've never played a game where I was scared. Like, okay, I've played a video game. I played Silent Hill. I've been scared in Silent Hill, but that's because there's like jumpy stuff that game overs you real quick, right? Like I was scared. There's been a couple movies where I've been scared. Like I don't scare easily, but like Event Horizon, the jump scares. Oh, that gets me, right? And like sometimes a movie will have a tension point where I'm like locked up, but I'm trying to imagine it in a tabletop RPG, and I'm like, okay, there's a part of my brain that goes, are these just people who are scared in all the movies or something? And I'm having a hard time conceptualizing it. But again, I haven't played it, so maybe there's that. Maybe if someone's running a Call of Cthulhu game, I need to be a player in it to sense what that means. I get the ideas of how you try to get a person there. I don't understand them passing through the threshold yet, if that makes sense, right? Okay, so someone might need to take a 20-minute break, okay? And I understand that if you were successful at getting the players to cross over the threshold from perceiving scary stuff to being scared of that scary stuff, then yes, you might need to mitigate the amount of time that they exist in the scary stuff space. I'm just not understanding exactly how that threshold is crossed. And in my mind, it's something the players wholly have control over, right? Like, you have players and they're going, I'm going to allow myself to dive into this tension-filled narrative, or you have players that are going like, nope, 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 I'm not scared, you know. So, but if there is a way for a dungeon master to not instigate, but ensure that the players are crossing the threshold, I'd be interested to know what that is. And maybe I'll come to that in the comments. But okay, I get it. We don't want to keep them there for too long in case, you know, stress or anxiety. All right. All right, the reveal is usually more important the longer you build the tension for, but paying off that tension doesn't need to mean showing the creature, and that's the end. Okay, I get it. Okay. Sometimes I can get the same boo. Oh, geez. Okay, from showing. Let's see. Sometimes I can get the same startlement from showing that it wasn't the worst possible. See, from showing that it wasn't the worst possible event, but a bad one nonetheless. Okay, so from that I'm getting the, you don't have to show the monster, you can show the wake of the monster or something and still get the same dread. Okay, letting the tension fall away but not the dread, allowing the party to come up to breathe and come back another time to that fear. Okay, so maybe leaving it, like they don't want to deal with that fear right now. We're not strong enough for our party to deal with this. Again, I think some of this stuff, to understand it as a GM, you have to play something like Call of Cthulhu or Vaesen or Mothership. Like I might be obtuse when it comes to like tabletop RPGs. Like I get the sense that there's the possibility I am an obtuse like game learner, right? Like there's some people who read this stuff and they just go, oh, I get it. I totally get it. I don't think I'm that way. And so when I'm trying to go through this thing, I'm like, I get this, but I also don't get it. Okay, so let me keep going. So let the object, okay, allowing the party come up to breathe. Okay, they come back in. So the object of the person's fear, get away and keep it in your back pocket for another time. Okay, so I have that monster for later. I find that is easiest done by knowing the goals of fear and other moving parts. Okay, say there are spiders in an urban area. Maybe I reveal a new nest and not the spider itself. Essentially something the party can interact with to overcome while the spider is still a looming threat. Okay, so you found the nest but no spider. Got it. That allows the spider to return and characterizes it with the goals of its own, right? It's going out, it's hunting, it's doing things. Also gives me something to work with when deciding its next move. And I'm all about making moves that can be followed up on, right? They break the spider's eggs, they mess up the nest, and now it's hunting the things that broke its eggs. I got that. Cool. That's also helpful, right? That helps me create a setting. Like, don't just make a monster, make where it lives. Don't just make a monster, make its favorite restaurant, right? Okay, the players are in its favorite restaurant. Oh, we're in a monster feeding ground, right? Okay, those are all cool. I guess the part that I have a difficult time conceptualizing is, I understand if I'm watching Critical Role, all the people on Critical Role are going to be acting like scared people, okay? Right? I totally understand that. So if I were to watch someone's YouTube stream of a scary game, I might even see players going like, oh, like acting scared, right? But they're pretending, right? like they're like, the players themselves wouldn't be scared, would they? And that's where I'm like, again, I think it might have to be where I play in it, and you know what I mean? Like there's I understand my character's scared in this moment, so I'm going to be playing my character as scared. Is me as the player scared too? All right, so this is where my hiccup is. Okay, when you watch a movie that's scary, you're invested in the characters, and so you're scared by proxy of the characters. Also, the movie is designed in such a way to make people jump and feel scared because it touches on like dark themes or scary stuff or slasher horror or whatever. So you, by proxy of character love and also adjacent to situational, ilk, bad stuff, right? You're feeling scared as a viewer. But a tabletop RPG game isn't able to capture those elements, which I think is why people say turn the lights down and play scary music. Those feel like they're obvious and maybe cheating too. Like, I'm wondering, are the players scared in a tabletop role-playing game? And like, this so far has not helped me to get over that one threshold. Like, are they just pretending or are they just scared? I understand that the things being dropped by the DM are going to help that thing happen, but it still requires your players to make some kind of effort towards it. Because you could still very easily have someone just going, nope, I'm not biting the scary part, right? Let me see, has anyone answered this thing yet? Enchanted, okay. Even Tolkien does Lolf, okay. John, thank you for praying for my grandma. I appreciate that. Blessings to Nana. All right, let's see. Thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate that. All of you, yeah, I thank you so much. I appreciate the prayers for my grandma. I'm in my mind, it's like I'm going there and she's fine. I know I shouldn't be thinking that, but I'm in my mind, like I'm going there, grandma's gonna be fine. Because, like, again, it was that message that Dad gave me. It could just be him being totally hopeful. Like, my dad might just be, you know, we'll see. We'll see this afternoon. So, Salty Neck says, I think even acting scared will help feel the horror story a bit more intensely. Let me think about that. Even people acting scared will help feel the horror story. Okay, all right. You see others pretending, but you also kind of believe it. Unless they're going over the top. Okay, yeah, the players contributing to the right tone of the table party is okay. You know, and that's kind of what I thought. Like you could have one player at your table derail your scary game. You know, it's that one person in the theater that's just like, nope, ain't going in there. Like, you know, like, and that could be the thing that like makes or breaks a scary game. So, but if you have a table of people who are leaning in, I think that probably could go well. So, all right, I'm going to keep, this is all still helpful information for the DM, but this is one of those things where I feel like you have to have your players definitely meeting you in the middle, right? Like maybe even meeting you in the middle more so than you do in a different game. Like certain settings might be easier for players to cross over into, because this one is diametrically imposed to them doing exactly what they want, right? Like even on the premise, like, hey, I would like to scare you. Are you okay with me scaring you? Is kind of what you're saying in the premise of this game. And so your players have to be going, I would like to be scared. Would you do that a little bit for me? Like, and if they're not saying that, you probably can't make this come off. So, yeah, all right, I'm gonna continue. Okay, so last line here. As a final aside, I've been learning. See, I've been learning a lot from an old actual play of Curse of Strahd. Okay, that's the vampire setting in D&D. Okay, they have segments in their mid-game break which give advice. I found that helpful. Definitely favors a mature audience, but in any okay, this is mature material. But if any reader is curious, our Curse of Strahd is the YouTube, and the game is called Curse of Strahd Bitten Twice. Okay, so they're given a suggestion to watch something. Wait, our Curse of Strahd, that tells me our Curse of Strahd. Okay, that might be a typo, but that tells me like to look on Reddit. But okay, so you could just look up Curse of Strahd and there'd be like a YouTube video for that. So, all right, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm gonna try and speed it along. I know I'm doing a terrible job. On the big ones like this, I have a lot more to say because I know I'm trying to read it and I'm trying to understand it. And the previous videos I've made like this, I had already gone through and commented on them, and so I'd already like read through what they desired to learn. Here right now I'm doing it and you're actually like seeing the process by which I try and read and understand something. Atmosphere and your description. Okay, atmosphere and your description to set the scenes. More important in a horror style. Hold on. More important in a horror style than in any other think of all the things. Oh, think of all the things in movies that make you get tense, and try and emulate those things with your new descriptions. Okay, so again, so they're talking about the same thing, some of the same things that TSL Frontman was mentioning. Oh, this was Lightseeker. Lightseeker is suggesting some of the same things that TSL Frontman was saying about atmosphere and description, or actually TSL Frontman and the third person down right here, I think it was. Did I skip one? No. Okay, good. I read that one. Okay. For some reason, it had folded back up. I'm going to keep unfolding them to make sure I know that I have already gone through them. Okay, same thing that someone else is already mentioning, and again, just leaking stuff out, like giving descriptions of what you smell and taste as opposed to you see a monster. That's helpful, okay? Because I might do it the wrong way. I definitely like I don't have any conceptualization how to play out scary, which is kind of why I asked this thing. I am interested in Vaesen and Call of Cthulhu. Like, I don't think my players are interested in Call of Cthulhu, so I might be able to get my son and his friend to play. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's Vaesen, the Nordic horror game by Free League Games. I'm super interested in that because, again, like the idea of running it, I'm just like, you know. Don't know. All right, so the Perfect Pencil says, I love running horror games. In my experience, being observant to your players' reactions and leaning in on subjects that make them wince is key. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely going to be one of the more, I mean, if these suggestions are correct, and I'm going to assume that these people who are giving these suggestions are at least succeeding to run a scary game. Okay, they're at least perceiving that they're running a scary game successfully. At worst, they're running a scary game and it's not successful, but like, I'm sure their players would tell them. So I'm gonna assume that they're running scary games successfully, okay? And they're saying you gotta lean into the stuff that makes your players wince. She's doing it again. The robot's doing it again. Hey, Siri, be quiet. My goodness. Thank you, Siri. So if I as the DM am having to lean into things that make my players a little uncomfortable, this definitely might be like upper level GMing. Like, this is probably not novice GM stuff, because you're already going to be going into it with the potential for your players to be, oh, no, you just did something that made me wince. Like, I'm not gonna, right? So again, this would be a campaign primer would be essential for a scary game. Because if the way to do it successfully is to push in on the places where your players are going, I don't know if I like that, right? That's going to be hard already. So as an example, if the player inspects a body, I might mention that the that the eyes are gouged out and look for a reaction. If I get none, I don't come back to the eyes, the eyes thing again. But if a player winces, I know I can lean in and scare them on that later. I keep notes about each player this way. Okay, this is an excellent suggestion, but this is also affirming the thing that I already suspected. This is a difficult type of game to run. This is not novice DM territory. Like, to look at your players, go, what do you guys think about this body horror idea? What do you guys think about this dark theme? How do you guys feel about, this? You know, I don't want to get into too much describing negative things. You get the point. Like, how do you guys feel about this thematic idea, this psychological idea, this traumatic idea, right? You're already playing in a sensitive area and then you're pressing in. This is upper level DM stuff, but I get the idea. You might actually have to have an advanced game group too. Like, you might not just be able to play this as a pug, like a pickup group. Like, I don't know. I'd be interested if any of you guys run a horror game as a pickup group and have been successful. I'd be interested to know. Like, maybe because maybe people were like, hey, I really want to play a Call of Cthulhu game. But then that means you as a DM still have to have your campaign primer and go, are you guys okay with like child abuse and stuff or whatever? I'm sure that's a word that YouTube doesn't like me saying. I'll be careful. All right, hey, Salty Nick, hey, here we go. All right, Salty Nick has a few suggestions for me. Let me see, I'm already expanded out. Okay, let me see if anyone has said anything. Okay, so Peter Bastedo says, if someone goes nope, not going in, then you succeeded. That's cool. Okay, I mean that gives a good sense of how this type of gameplay might work. Nick says all TTRPGs require player buy-in. Okay, you're asking them to believe in fiction with you while you all work together to tell a story together. That makes sense. Vaesen, I'm not sure what that's related to. Let's see, horror games. Oh, Vaesen. Oh, Vaesen. Okay, he's pronouncing it for me. Vaesen. Okay, thank you. Horror games with pickup groups is always a blast. Really interesting. Okay, it starts as creepy and it ends as Rocky Horror Picture Show. Okay, that yeah, I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense for it to get a little zany so that it doesn't get like macabre or something. Okay, that makes sense. All right, Salty Nick. the players need to care for their characters. Okay, so we're reiterating, like, you got to tie their characters in a strong way. So they don't want bad things to happen to them. Very interesting. Okay, if it's an entirely new campaign with new characters, do it by having them invested because they made backstories and ties to other people's characters. All right, so that's a really solid way to have your players ground themselves into their friends, so that when their friend dies, like, it matters, right? Or so that they'll try and do something to make sure their friend doesn't matter. So this is a great session 0. Oh my goodness, session 0 structure. Okay, all right, let's see. Number 2, the players must not know the monsters and their capabilities. Okay, and their abilities. Even reskinning a hobgoblin as the lurking man-eater is already progress, and having an entirely custom monster they've never seen is probably peak. Okay, that's a good tip. I would not think to do that on my own. Evocation. Let's see. Evocative descriptions. Also, slow narration, plenty of relevant detail. Okay, the above can apply to any system. Evocative descriptions. That's a good point. That's a good point. And I probably should have that, like, on a note card permanently on a DM screen for me. Give more evocative descriptions. Okay. Number 4, use a Jenga tower instead of dice, like in the Dread RPG. People get very tense just playing Jenga alone. Now imagine it paired with a horror narrative, where the story tension follows the progress of the Jenga. That's interesting. Okay. And that would replace any type of dice mechanic. So, like, I guess, yeah, right off the bat, you know that this is doomed to fail. That's a good mechanic, I think. That works similar to the game 10 Candles, where you're slowly blowing out candles over the night, and the candles were essentially giving you an advantage in the game. And as you blow the candles out, you're now rolling, like, fewer and fewer dice. But you know from the start of the game, like, we are doomed. You know, like, this is all going to hell. So, all right, now number 5, try a system meant for horror. For example, Dread or Call of Cthulhu. Okay, so this is kind of what I suspected might be the case. Like, you can't just drop horror into Dungeons and Dragons and it come off well, I think. Okay, or at least a system where the players aren't heroes like they are in D&D. Nick, man, you're really good at this. Anything OSR, anything that's meant to be heroic fantasy will give you anything that's meant to be a heroic fantasy will give you consistent fiction. Constant friction. Okay, I read that as fiction. Okay, but constant friction. That makes sense. Yeah. So if I'm running heroic fantasy, I'm gonna lose my players. Nick, great suggestion. Great suggestions, and I like this format. Helps me to read. Okay, getting into Scott oh my goodness, Gozdalzielski. I nailed that. I'm gonna stick with it. Okay, be descriptive of things that will make your players squeamish, but avoid triggers. Okay, again, requires a primer, like a significant, like, primer, like, what are you guys okay with, what are you guys not okay with, you know, because right, in this thing, you're basically playing a TTRPG that's uncomfortable. I'm gonna put horror TTRPGs at, like, upper echelon level play for the moment, until I find something else that's more difficult. My ability to conceptualize this thing is so low that I'm like, I think you need to be a few years as a DM in order to do this successfully. And I'm really helpful for like getting that framework for it, because I was thinking, like, hey, maybe I could run like a one-shot successfully, right? Like, and just lean into all the areas in the wrong way. So this is helpful. Okay, first example, I was running Heart, and a player was exploring Baba Yaga's house without permission. At one point, a wall of bugs crashed open. One of the players... on one of the players replaced his eyes. I described the crawling of the bugs, and no matter how much they found, they could not escape. The bugs crawled into their eyes, ears, and nose. To avoid suffocating, they had to cover their nose. At this point, spiders crawled into their eyes and popped them out. I talked about how they could feel the pressure turn into pain, then they popped. Okay, so yeah, so this is what happened. Did I hit a button? Hang on. I lost it. All right, hang on. Salty Nick. I don't even know what I hit that did that. Okay. Oh, it must have unexpanded it. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so this is getting like you gotta get like. All right. And okay, I kind of understood that you could do this like, and then your arms are torn off, and then your skin is, you know, being like, okay, I understand you can do that. Like, does that make it scary, or does that make it like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if that's exactly what I mean. Like, right? Like, obviously, I can lean into the really gross parts of Event Horizon, but like, I don't know if I find Event Horizon to be the most interesting horror. Like, I think, okay, if I was to place like a scale of horror, I think, what's that mirror movie? The mirror movie with the weird mirror. Oracle? Origami? It's like one word with an O. I don't know what it's called, but it's called something, Occult? No. There's a movie with a mirror, and it's got like anyways, I put that mirror movie above whatever the other one I just said, Event Horizon, right? Event Horizon's like scary, but it's kind of scary because it's like, oh, look at all this people torn apart, right? Like that's just that's triggering the visceral thing. But like the whatever that mirror movie is, Oculus. Oh my goodness, Oculus. Okay. That movie like still resonates to me as like, oh, that's kind of a haunting movie, right? That the premise is, yeah, there we go, Oculus. Okay, so I understand you can do this stuff, and I'm not sure if I find this stuff nearly as interesting because this, I'm not trying to like rail up against this person's comment. Like I appreciate the comment, and it is good that I have it here because like, okay, in case I didn't know I could do this. Now I know I can do this, all right? So spiders, they do all other terrible things. They attach their eyes to webs. Oh my goodness. This second example, okay, we're playing Old Gods of Appalachia. The DM kept talking about how the monster was trying to drown us. One of the players' husband died from drowning. She asked him to stop, and he tried, but kept, hold on. She asked him to stop, and he kept forgetting. Okay, this pulled us, oh, okay, so so they're saying, I get it. So they're saying in another example, they kept playing into this negative thing with drowning, and one of the players like literally said stop doing that to the DM, but the DM forgot and kept doing it, and this pulled all of them out of the moment and ruined the horror. So like interrogations, interrogations, you want the players on the edge, but not so far they stop focusing. Okay, the other thing is speak quietly, so the players have to listen and maybe lean in a little bit. Interesting. Okay, that's, I mean, the whole example is very useful because, right, you could go too far with the thing, and since I'm dealing with like 13, 14-year-old kids, I would probably, I would probably go further away from like your eyes are replaced by spiders and more into like the Oculus mirror type of thing. Like, what is this? It's making you think evil thoughts or something. But I appreciate that they gave the two different examples. Like, hey, this is what happens when you go too far, right? Because, okay, again, I'm leaving this at like upper tier echelon TTRPG running. Like, obviously, the players probably have to be upper tier as well, because like if you're going into one of these games and you have a bunch of triggering issues, like, I mean, what are you doing, right? Like, you can't go into this thing and have like spiders scare you or something, right? Like, you have to probably have resolved some of your traumatic past or something, right? And if not, you're doing something to yourself that's, you know what I mean? Like, okay, if you're a player going into like a horror game, if you haven't resolved the stuff, like, what are you doing? You know, like that seems like a self-explanatory thing. Like, you probably shouldn't play a horror game if you don't want the DM to put some scary things at you. There we go. Like, okay, so this is only for specific people. It's very helpful to figure this out because I had the thought you could just play this with anyone, right? Understanding the mechanics a little more of how you are able to do it. Okay, that tells me I really have to speed things along. I might not even finish all this stuff in one video. What's up, buddy?
Did you have Lightning McQueen?
Did I have what?
Lightning McQueen.
Are you asking for Lightning McQueen?
Lightning McQueen, where is it?
Okay, you want to know? Okay, I'm so confused. What? He's asking for Lightning McQueen? Did we have it? Hold on.
Remember that big Lightning McQueen car?
Dude, we got rid of that car like a year ago. Dude, you broke that car to pieces. That car we threw in the trash like a year and a half ago, buddy. We don't have that car anymore.
Or we could build one.
We could build one? Okay, buddy, we have to get going in about 30 minutes to go pick up Bishop. So you got to go eat your lunch, okay? But come give me 5.
Great dance.
You had a good. Oh my goodness, what a good boy. Come here.
All right.
Come here. I'm so happy you had a good day at school. Good job. You ate your whole lunch?
Yes, but I know.
What?
We could build a lightning queen out of
Okay.
magnet blocks.
Want to build a lightning McQueen? You've got some time. If you'd like to go in the garage and build a lightning McQueen out of magnet blocks, you can. I'm trying to get something done that I just realized I'm not even going to have close to enough time to do. So you're stealing that key? Okay. All right. Thank you, buddy.
I'm just taking it for the car.
Okay, you can take it to the garage. Thank you, buddy. All right, let's see. I missed a few things. So good stuff, Nick. Okay, all right. Nick Campbell says it's so weird to hear that so many authors start with horror only to write horror. So it seems to me like anybody can do horror regardless of skill level. Okay, Nick, you make a really good point about writing horror. Okay. I think it might be hard to do well, right? Okay, like you can see that from like watching horror movies. There are so many horror movies where you watch it and like, it's a really good premise, and then it's like the House on Haunted Hill or something, and you get to the end and you're like, what? Like the 13 Ghosts. There's so many of them. Like I could probably think of like 100 examples of like the Saw movies, right? Like there's so many examples of these scary movies that like in premise they're really good, but then the writer or the screenwriter or someone doesn't know how to end the idea, and they just go and they're free or they die or whatever. Like, and it's like it leans into something that's unsatisfying for the ending. And that's the thing, is like you might be right. Like horror might be the easiest thing to write, like just to get started, because all you have to do is think of something scary, right? My kid was doing a, man, I know I'm not going to finish this in time. Okay, my kid was doing a creative writing class, and the teacher was like, we're focusing all on horror. And I had a question like, why? And I had the thought like, maybe horror is the easiest thing to teach kids how to write or something, right? He dropped out because he's not interested in like reading horror books, right? But okay, so I think you might be right. Maybe horror is the easiest thing to start writing, but I don't think it's the easiest thing to start writing well, because there's so many horror stories that just get dumb towards the middle or end of the thing, and but I don't think horror is something that I naturally write well, and I certainly don't know how to end a premise. Like I have a scary premise, I don't know how to end it, So all right, I was attempting to try and read these. All right, I'm just gonna lean into the idea that this is probably gonna have to be 2 videos, because here I'm at Justin's right now. Oh yeah, you see the scroll bar right there? I'm not even close to done. I'm not even close to done. Okay, I'm not gonna have time to finish this, so I'm gonna have to come back and do this again. This will be in like, I don't know, 2 or 3 parts, depending on how long this takes. But something about Lightning McQueen I see down there at the bottom. I'm missing a bunch of stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna try and get through like 2 more of these, and then I know you guys are making some good suggestions as well, and I don't want to miss that too. So, all right, I'm gonna continue reading for a second. Here, let's see. If someone goes, nope, okay, you're not going. You succeeded. Okay, I read that. Oculus, someone answering the question. Okay, Nick making great suggestions. Let's see. All right, where was it? Okay, Oculus, Salty Nick. I agree about your points, except the last one. Okay, so Hector Rodriguez says, I've run plenty of successful D&D horror one-shots, or no, horror shots, but overall great points. Okay, so Hector is saying that he was still able to actually get a horror setting into a D&D. And that might be like maybe the exception, not the rule type thing or something, like, because I can see what Nick is talking about, but I can also understand if someone managed to do it well. That's probably them running a really good D&D campaign, and that is not something that I was doing. I was not running a good D&D campaign. All right, Salty Nick says, thanks, John and Hector. I'm really enjoying the soapbox. I get to stand on when Nate posts questions like that. No, I mean, it is a really good, okay, there's, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, somehow, like, really, really smart people who know how to run TTRPGs, like, found my channel, and then they all answer questions on here. And so, like, I'm getting to go through, like, some really interesting education on tabletop role-playing games, just by being willing to learn. And there's so many people who are like, not only do we have good advice, we will teach you how to play our system. And not only will we teach you how to play our system, we will, help you learn other systems or whatever, right? So that's really nice that the community of tabletop role-playing games is not like, let's see, gatekeeping. There is gatekeeping, but not in like people who want to learn, right? And I'm not trying to get into a conversation about gatekeeping, because I've actually heard people argue in favor of gatekeeping and then like against gatekeeping, and I actually don't know what my opinion of that is. So, let's see, fighting heroic fantasy with horror is so much, is a much more difficult technique than using standard fantasy, though, for sure. Okay. Salty Nick says, already got to that one. Let's see, my salty twin says smart things. That's how Tom Cruise has to feel. Okay, so making bad jokes. Let's see, the Fiendish DM. D&D and its variants can be used successfully as a vehicle for horror. Ravenloft is a prime example, though in my opinion, you need to be using an OSR variant where the characters are not superheroes. Okay, and now a Pixar montage. All right, let's see. They definitely, oh right, because my son came in with the with the Lightning McQueen. Okay, question. They definitely can be used, but the system's assumptions are acting against you rather than with you. Okay, that's where the advanced DMing steps in more, right? And I think you need to be an advanced DM. You'd have to be an advanced DM to make a horror thing work properly in Dungeons and Dragons, because you'd need to be able to mitigate the player's ability to solve problems without simply saying, nope, it doesn't work. Like, you'd actually have to anticipate all of their potential problem-solving abilities and find a way to mitigate those without cheating, right? I can see it would be very difficult to run, like, I threw 3 dragons at my players, right? And they successfully killed 3 dragons at like level 10. Like, and they were like, half of them were running away. Like, they were barely trying. It's so easy to be overpowered in that game. And, anyways, okay, so, can't lie, Lightning McQueen is pretty cool, just like Steve McQueen. Let's see. Oh, I finally caught up. Yeah, I agree. You can do it in D&D. It's just a matter of being harder to pull off with a heroic fantasy game than a horror game. Okay, cool. Thank you for letting me catch up. Let me do like, yeah, I got time for like maybe 2 or 3 more, and then I'm gonna have to like pause it here, and then I'll catch up. Maybe I might even have time to catch up tonight. What's tonight? Wednesday? Yeah, normally tonight is Steven and Landon come over for like a board game or something, but they're doing some stuff. Landon's giving a presentation at his school or at his church for a school trip he went on, so they're not coming over. And we're going, like I said, we're going out to visit my grandma. Not sure what time we'll get back, but if we get back and it's early enough, I'll try and finish this today. Otherwise, it might be tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm running a game with Salty Nick. It'll be after Salty Nick's game or so. Okay, so. All right, let's see. Justin Blocker says, yeah, candlelight. Okay, and candlelight's an interesting suggestion, because that's different than low light. And I think that's probably where that game 10 Candles would shine. No pun intended. Actually playing with literal candles. All right, glow in the dark things, other fluff. Glow in the dark things, other fluff, okay? Make the characters feel small. The cavern they're in is pitch black, even beyond their dark vision. Okay, so this is assuming that you are playing in a Dungeons and Dragons type setting. They move forward. Great. They lose sight of the doorway they took to get in here. Okay, makes them question their sense of direction, just how big this dark space is. Also, need to use feelings a lot more than descriptions. Okay, as the iron gate squeaks open, you feel the warm pull of air go into the graveyard. Smelling the flowers in the meadow, you feel something icy cold on the back of your neck. Okay, so describing sensations. Okay, what another person's saying, like, lean into the senses. Okay, just that little invasion of personal character space puts the players on alert for their character's sake. Those are great suggestions, and I like the examples given. I really like the idea of putting them in a space where they lose their sense of direction, like not just like, because my mind would go like a maze, but a big opening area. And some of that's a little bit why I thought Wild Sea would be fun for our group. There is the potential for the game to have scary elements in it, and also like that Lost at Sea, so okay, let me keep going. Ron Wise, oh, and that was Justin Blocker. Okay, Ron Wise GMG says, I have 2 suggestions on adding tension and hopefully fear into your TTRPG session. one in the form of a game and the other in the form of an OSR adventure. The game, Dread, is focused on horror scenarios. Its main mechanic is a Jenga tower. Okay, so Salty Nick, good suggestion. You've got company here. Whenever a PC tries something risky that's not in their wheelhouse, they need to pull a block. If the tower remains standing, they succeed at their task. If the tower crumbles, however, their PC dies. I wonder if that means you need to reset up the tower for the other players and then they have a longer time playing, or how that works. Like, do you stop the game when one person dies? Or, yeah, I would be curious. I guess I'd have to watch one of those games play out. I know someone has it. I know someone on YouTube has a game posted somewhere. Okay, there is an OSR-esque adventure on Drive-Thru RPG called The Count, the Castle, and the Curse. It is not Powered by the Apocalypse, PWYW. Okay, that's the system, but I don't know the name of that. So Pathfinder, no. I'm trying to think of, if anyone knows that system, post it down in the chat, because I don't remember that system name by acronym. It's a timer adventure. It's called The Count, the Castle, and the Curse. It's a timed adventure, 4 to 5 hours long, where the PCs are captured by the Count and infected with early stage vampirism. Must escape the castle before midnight. When the Count concludes his game of cat and mouse, the stress track is one of the adventure's central mechanics. Okay, interesting. Which serves as the universal target number and goes up or down based on a multitude of factors. Okay, so not only is it very easy to run, but no attempts will be the same. So let me see if I'm trying to see if I can understand that. All right, so the Count, the Castle, and the Curse. So you have players trapped in a castle where they're infected with vampirism. A Count is chasing them. They're trying to escape and undo their vampirism. So you're basically doing reverse Cinderella or something, because you have a countdown to midnight. When the Count concludes his game of cat and mouse, okay, escape the castle before midnight, because if you don't, he's trapped you in there. The stress track is one of the adventure's central mechanics. So there's some way of tracking failures or successes or something. There's like a little bar that goes up and down, and this is going to serve as the universal target number. So as it goes down, maybe your rolls get harder and you fail more, and as it goes up, because you succeed, it sounds like it's a system where you're going to roll under, but the roll under target number is fluctuant based on the game. Okay, so that's at least what it sounds like. That sounds interesting. And then, okay, again, we have a system built around being scary. Okay, I'm getting the sense that it is harder to scare people in a general tabletop role-playing game, and that's maybe why some of these scary games are invented, in order to make these, make the system, what am I trying to say? In order to make the system benefit the setting, or something, or the setting be bolstered by the system. Same thing either way. Okay. Oh, pay what you want. Thank you. Okay, not a system. PWYW. Pay what you want. I'm learning the codes. I know DTRPG now. I know a couple of the systems, but when I see an acronym or an acronym, I go, oh, it's a system, right? Hold on, let's see. Like Ravenloft is a gothic horror. The horror isn't tension or fear based there. The horror isn't tension or fear based there. Gothic horror focuses on the disgust of a vampire's existence. Interesting. Okay, how they defile humanity. You know, that's an really interesting point, because I think vampirism is kind of normalized by Count Chocula and who's the Count who likes to count in Sesame Street? Is his name just the Count? His name is probably just the Count. Whatever, the numbers count from Sesame Street. Like, we just kind of like, yeah, vampires, right? No big deal. Oh, I mean, like, what's the vampire's story with the little girl? With the girl who, like, she's in love with the vampire and the werewolf. The Twilight? Teen Twilight? I think it's called Twilight, right? Yeah, we like, vampires are kind of like no big deal. You know, they've been normalized so much. There he goes. Yeah, his name's the Count. Anyways, they've been normalized so much, but you're right. Like, there's like an actual, like, this is a virus. Like, this is a terrible pandemic person. So I get what you mean. And in some ways, I think you could actually create a horror tabletop RPG with a vampire that probably is scarier than a movie, but you really have to do a few things. Like, you'd have to lean in, you'd have to create the tension. You'd have to get your your campaign primer, all that stuff ready. So I think it'd be hard to do, but I think you have a right point, right? Let's see, I missed a few other things here. I'm gonna catch up to that in a minute. Let me try and get through one or two more of these. 53, probably one, because I talk too much. Let's see, I use music. Oh, okay, this is actually one that I already found and responded to. I use music, and I find it more effective if I suddenly change the music from something neutral to something creepy. As soon as the players walk into a haunted mansion, for example. Love your videos. Thank you so much, Kuma Hello. Oh, that was Kuma Hello. Let's see, it's a really good idea. Do you mostly play in person or online? Yeah, and this was where I actually kind of like, okay, what is there a difference between online play? Because like I've thought about playing music in our videos, but our friend in Thailand would have a really hard time because like it'd be constant noise going through his speaker, and so then there'd be times where it was difficult to hear him because like the room has to be quiet. Like sometimes we have a hard time hearing him even if the air conditioner's on. So, you know, there's an aspect of like, well, it might not work online nearly as much. And so I actually am curious, does music work on like Discord or whatever well? Okay, Squid Vicious. Okay, it's a short one, and then oh hey, Dragoon. Anyway, so I thought I saw Dragoon pop up in the comment earlier, so let me get to Squid Vicious, and then Dragoon if I have time. All right, time. Deadlines are scary. If players have a finite amount of time before something dreadful happens, it can really push the scary story to a new level. Ambient sounds also help. I know in 3rd edition, some games include MP3s or audio CDs for the horror games. Interesting. That is a good way to facilitate that. I didn't know that 3rd edition had, unless we're talking about like 3rd edition, like Call of Cthulhu. When I read 3rd edition, I generally think the person is talking about D&D 3rd edition. That might be wrong. I'm not sure, but that's my thought. So I didn't know 3rd edition had horror campaign settings. I knew that there were CDs that came with some games at times, like for the ambience of the game. I didn't know about MP3s, so that's actually news to me. Anyways, I said I really like the clock mechanic. I almost hit thumbs up on my own comment. Okay, let me get one more. Yeah, okay, this is a little bit of a long one. Am I gonna make it through this one? This is a good long one. Okay. Oh, and then we got Phil coming up next. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna, because I still need to rinse off in the shower before we go, and I'm gonna, if I start this one, I'm definitely not gonna get going in time. So I'm gonna go. I gotta take a quick rinse off, and then we're going to go pick up Bishop, go see Grandma. If we get back tonight early enough, if 9 or something, that's probably early enough for me to try and finish this up. Like, I may have gotten more than 30 comments. There's a lot of suggestions in here, and these are all really good suggestions that, like, again, it's leading me to believe that this is an upper tier of dungeon mastering that's like, it's hard to learn how to be this good. Like you'd have to work in order to do this, and you'd also have to definitely make a campaign primer and a few other things. So in the last minute or two that I have before I get going, I'm gonna try and scan through these comments and see if I'm missing anything. Let's see. Okay. All right. So okay. In the name of Gygax, how did you run 3 dragons? How many PCs? I had an encounter of 4 7th level PCs against 1 adult black dragon, and it almost ended in a total party kill. Okay, so, all right, I was running. I feel like I should answer that one because that's a fair question. I was running Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So my players are coming across this dragon, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be somewhat hostile because Waterdeep Dragon Heist says it should be somewhat hostile. But the premise alone is bonkers level stupid, okay? Like, it's so stupid. There's a dragon who's been living inside of a vault under the city for like forever, right? So right away, this dragon is not in his optimal setting. This guy can't really fly around. He's in like a vaulted tomb. I'm mentally, like, when I looked at the map for how they designed this thing, I'm like, how does this dragon leave? How does he poop? Like, okay, so he's just been asleep this whole time. Like, what is he? Okay. I'm so confused by this thing, so I skipped their map. I couldn't reconcile it because, like, I don't understand where his helpers are. Where does his food come? How is this dragon alive? Like, it didn't make any sense to me, but I'm supposed to just waltz my player into this thing, and there's the potential for a fight, right? Because they're supposed to do this thing. At that point, I'd already undone a bunch of the story because none of it made sense. But okay, I'm just gonna stick with the the core outline. There's a dragon in a vault. And I'm like, my player's just gonna kill it, right? It's not gonna live. This thing can't just do flyby passes and kill them. And besides, there's like a wizard who's, I think they're close to 10th level at this point. There's a wizard who has like crazy spells that like freeze them in place and they can't do it. Like, he undid an entire fight because he had a spell where he put like this shadow demon in a mind prison. And there was like 3 turns. I think I actually cheated on the roll to get my shadow demon to be able to do anything in that fight. I can't remember. Maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. But I took that into consideration. I have a wizard who has a spell that if I fail a save, it undoes the creature for an entire fight. And then everyone just gets to like get crits on it, right? So, okay. So people saying cool perspective so far. Okay, cool. Anyway, so there's one dragon in a vault. Can't move, can't do stuff. And I'm like, okay, it might get 1 turn off before it gets put in a little mind prison. So I'm like, I need 2 dragons in order to actually defeat them because my son was playing a paladin who was doing like on average like 80 to 90 damage. He critted one of those dragons for 200 damage. Right? And like, okay, keep in mind, I'd given him like a magical sword, like he can throw it and teleport him to himself. I was playing into the power hero fantasy, and so they were power heroes, right? So they had magic items, they had cool stuff. So there's 1 dragon gonna be in this vault. I'm like, nope, it's gotta be 2, because my son's uncle can put things in mind prisons. 2 dragons. And then I'm like, 2 dragons may not be enough because they have a bard that can do Tasha's Hideous Laughter. So between the bard doing Tasha's Hideous Laughter and the dragon and the wizard who can put him in a mind box, I'm like, I think I need 3 dragons. So I did 1 adult dragon, 2 like middle dragons, and then I even added like smaller, like what do you call it, like the minion dragons. I don't have younglings or whatever. Like they were no challenge whatsoever. I allowed them to role play a bit into it, and like, you know, they got like some of the damage they did was like me allowing them to narratively interact with the dragons. But because the premise was so stupid at the start, and I didn't just like go, guys, this thing's dumb. I don't know how to fix this, right? Like I didn't have that conversation. I'm like, you guys I think we're playing in a really stupid setting because the Waterdeep Dragon's Heist setting or like the campaign is so stupid. You have to really check your brain out for any of this stuff to work. And like I was going through like part of it, I'm just like, I don't understand how any of this lore works, how any of this stuff works, or why any of these people are doing any of the things they're doing. Like seriously, why am I hiring these nobody people to go check out this vault? Like it just, anyways. Because I didn't just stop playing in it, I tried to put a band-aid on a gushing wound, and so I ended up throwing 3 dragons. And you know, they fought 3 dragons, and they ended up having like a cool fight. I think they liked it. My son again got to do 200 damage on a dragon, and it was, anyways, that's the like, it was really, really hard to play Dungeons and Dragons with people who were metagaming in Dungeons and Dragons. Like my son was designing a monster of a character, right? And then he's asking for magical items. Like he wasn't even happy. Like every time he leveled up, it was Christmas. He had this bonkers smiting paladin, and he's like, I want a sword that's like I can throw. It's on fire. It teleports me to it. It was nuts, right? So neither here nor there. I'm gonna have more scary stuff later on tonight. I'm excited to look through the rest of these things. These comments are so helpful, and like seriously, when I go through these, I'm doing pretty much the same thing I'm doing right now. Like I'm going down and like trying to understand the thing you're saying. So when you're saying this stuff, okay, I'll be honest, like on a bonkers, like long comment like this, it takes me a couple days to find the time to get through it. But when I encounter this, like it's helpful to go through it, right? I'm learning a lot from this. So, I gotta go. I'm gonna go take a shower and stuff. I keep talking even though I'm trying to read this stuff. I'm gonna probably have to come back and try and read these comments on here. Let me see. I missed anything else? It was a funny comment though, Hector. In the name of Gygax, how did you run 3 dragons? I got you. Let's see. You don't stop a game with the Jenga tower falls. You keep going. Okay, that's actually helpful. Okay, you keep going, but with 1 less player. Sucks that they have to sit out. But in my experience, okay, tower doesn't fall until near the end, anyways. Okay, interesting. Just watch Alien a couple times. Okay, you always keep moving forward, even if that means everyone dies at the end. Got it. All right, but the key is the horror focus. Nick, do you mean horror in general? Let's see. I just realized that now, right? I just realized that you guys are both named Nick. I'm so stupid. Okay, sorry, Nick Campbell and Salty Nick, right? All right. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna get going because I'm gonna keep reading these and then I'm gonna keep talking and I don't know how to not do it. So I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Appreciate you hanging out with me while we do these comments, and thank you for putting them up here. This is such a good learning experience, you know. So all right. God bless you guys. Have a good day. Hopefully I'll be back later on tonight with good